Folks, we are officially right around the corner from fantasy baseball season. And with that being said, today, Matt and I have some hitters we are not leaving our drafts without. So join us on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. Or if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to us and you guys this time of year, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Do Subtext. It's an in-depth, personalized experience through text messaging alerts going right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute episode. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, the link is in the bio, wherever you're listening, watching, or it's available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Whew. And all right, I mentioned it at the top, and, fantasy baseball season is officially almost here. We're getting there, we're scratching at the bits to get there, and, we might as well prep first, and today we have 10 great names that, Matt and I are absolutely not leaving our drafts without. So, Matt, why don't you tee us up here and, get that first name on the board?
Yeah, honorable mention to Scoops. He's giving his fantasy baseball takes in the background.
Shout out to my puppy there. He's a little aggressive tonight.
Yeah.
So, apologies.
He's excited for the episode too. I don't blame him, and he always agrees with me. He does not agree with Dom. He says Dom's fantasy baseball.
Facts. Facts, 100%.
Yeah, he likes Matt a lot better than Dom. He just, it is what it is. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving. So we're talking, guys we don't want to leave the draft without. Why? And it's all over the place too. It's not like a sleeper episode, right? These are just guys that we feel that are going to be the difference makers on your teams. And, who better to start with than the young James Wood of the Washington Nationals? James Wood is a prospect who was called up mid-year last year and honestly just went completely off. He lived up to all the hype and then some. You couldn't have asked for more, essentially, right? Because when it came to him, you're like, okay, he's a big body guy, he's fast, is he actually going to live up to the hype? And you look at the stat line and it may not be the most impressive, but at the same time, you're like, man, his first 295 licks at bats at the bigs. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. 43 runs, 13 doubles, four triples, 9 bombs, 41 ribs, 14 stolen bases, and batted a nice 264. Those are great numbers for a guy getting his first lick at the bigs. And quite honestly, too, all the unders, everything under the hood also matched, right? So X-Woba was sitting at 351. X-batting average is actually sitting at 269. The slug was sitting at 439. His average exit velocity, which is the most impressive stat, 92.8 miles an hour. That's some Ellie De La Cruz level power. How you doing? He's going to be great. Barreling more than 10% of the time, creating hard contact over 50. Launch angle needs a little bit of work, but it is what it is. But really didn't chase as much either, which is good because that means that there could be some improvement in the batting average categories. James Wood for 2025, I feel, is going to be an absolute force. That is why I haven't ranked in my top 20 at the position in outfield. If you look at him right now, if you go to my rankings, if you're on the Diamond Club, he's ranked as my 17th overall outfielder. Getting moved up and down, if you've been listening, it's very hard to place him because I think he's going to be electric. You just don't want to draft him at a ceiling. But I feel like his floor is actually going to be quite safe. I would not be surprised if he returns on that pick every single time. James Wood going to be a phenomenal pick in 2025.
Yeah, man. ADP is actually pretty much right in sync with you as ADP has James Wood as the number 18 outfielder coming off the board, pick 52. I'm surprised. I think I got James Wood a little bit above you. I got him at 14 at outfield. Not too far apart, of course. So we're basically in sync with each other. Basically a higher to mid-end outfielder number 2. Of course, when you're talking about a 12-man league, I love that spot for Wood. I think he's going to pay dividends on it, and it kind of just shows how questionable outfield gets quickly. Nothing against James Wood because I think he's going to be a great player, but it just shows there's not a lot of sure things at outfield, especially when you're getting after that 8-9 number. After that, it just comes who do you want to invest in? And I think James Wood is one of those great investments. Matt, you broke him down very well for a big man. He's got a lot of power. He's got speed. He can hit for average. He's basically going to be a 5-tool guy if that Nationals team is going to support, each other when it comes to the counting stats. That is yet to remain to be seen, but definitely is going to give you power, speed, and batting average, worst case scenario. I love me for James Wood next season as well. Let's move on to somebody who actually recently re-signed. It's Teoscar Hernandez of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you know what? I love it. I don't think there's actually a better landing spot for Teoscar than the Dodgers for his fantasy value, and it works out perfectly. Last year, first year with the Dodgers, Teoscar played in 154 games, had 589 at-bats, 84 runs, 32 doubles, 33 home runs, 99 RBIs, 12 steals, and he hit 272. I think we could literally just expect more of the same. I think the counting stats are going to be very similar. Power is going to be similar. He can steal bases. Even though he's getting older, his sprint speed is still pretty elite. And he's hit at, if we go all the way back to 2020, Teoscar has hit at least 276 or 270 plus 3 out of those 4 or 5 seasons, and he hit 267 in one of them. So I expect the batting average to be very positive from Teoscar. I'm just really excited about him. I actually have him ranked as my number 13 outfielder, right ahead of James Wood. I just think he's very, very consistent for the price that you're going to have to pay for him. He is actually coming off the board as actually a little bit deeper than I thought, the 21st outfielder, pick 65. So I think you're making money off that pick all day. Might move up a little bit since he's re-signed, but I think that's a sweet spot getting Teoscar as a high-end outfielder number 2.
No, everything you said pretty much makes sense. And the return to the same ballpark kind of makes it second year with the team. Everything about it just kind of screams, hey, I can repeat what I did. If not, make small improvements. The team should be better as a whole with the new additions too. So Teoscar Hernandez, solid pick for this year. I don't think that draft pick's that price is gonna stick either. I think the adjustments are still coming because now he's re-signed. But let's move on. Let's talk about Lawrence Butler of the Oakland, Vegas now. Oakland, Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Athletics. It's so hard. I gotta get used to it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like when the Washington Commanders changed over to being the Commanders.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it took a little bit, right? And like the Cleveland Guardians, same thing. So anyway, Lawrence Butler now is going to Vegas. The team has moved, so they're no longer in that humongous behemoth of a stadium that protected pitchers. They're now in a AAA park. And on top of that, he has all the makings of just being somebody that can be good for fantasy baseball. He's young too, 24 years old, and had a pretty nice year, right? You look at what he did. 412 at bats, 63 runs, 24 doubles, 2 triples, 22 bombs, 57 ribs, 18 stolen bases, and batted 262. Honestly, I love the first full year stats. Obviously, there wasn't much around him to get you those peripheral counting stats of the runs and ribs and things like that. But at the same time, you just go, this is wonderful. It's refreshing. It's nice to see that he could do these things. And I think he really showed up. So he's also going to be in a smaller park. When you look at his underlying stats, everything under the hood, it says that he's going to hit for power. XwOBA is sitting at 352. His X batting average is sitting at 261. X slug is at 471. His average exit velocity is sitting at 91.1 miles an hour. How you doing? And barreling about 11% of the time and creating hard contact right under 50% at 47.4%. Launch angle actually is pretty nice, and his bat speed is looking real great. Only thing he really needs to work on is, more plate discipline, because his chasing and whiffing and things like that are a little bit more on the not so great side. But as long as Lawrence Butler can make contact with the ball, it's going over the fence, and especially in this small park, I think it's going to amp it up, and we're going to see a 30 home run season and maybe some more improvements. And hopefully the team brings in some more weapons for Lawrence Butler to drive in and bring him home. So I think this year's going to be a step forward, and I'm really liking him this so much. So before I let Dom even have a shot at giving any kind of take on or opinion on, Lawrence Butler. We do have a little break coming up, but don't worry, we got so many names coming up, and I'll give you a little inside baseball. Next, we're going to be talking about Jackson Holliday, and you're not going to want to miss how we should handle and draft him coming in 2025. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks curation, makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and etc. Game Time has a plethora of great features as well, such as their all-in-one pricing. Quite pretty much you get all the pricing up front, so you're not surprised by any kind of like extra fees at the end to check out. And you're just like, boom, that net, like, okay, it's gone over your price threshold. On top of that, the views from your seat, you get a panoramic view right from your seat, so you make sure you're not sitting behind that pole. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage is the best in the business with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Look, it's off season. We're getting ready to go into the 2025 draft, and there's only one way to get you to the championship, and that's being a member of the Diamond Club. You're going to get all our rankings, our redrafts, our dynasty prospects, our extended sleeper breakout bust lists, and so much more. Plus, you'll be able to check us out and actually hit us up for some questions, and that is the key part. Let us coach you into winning your league all season long with becoming a member of the Diamond Club. Link is in the description below. But without further ado, Dom, you feeling the same about Lawrence Butler? You thinking other? Let me know.
I'm with you on Butler. I think he's gonna be one of like the fantasy baseball community like darlings of the offseason. I feel like we're all just gonna drive him up, and it's gonna make it tougher on ourselves. But I think he's gonna be worth the price. I will play devil's advocate, though, on one end of the stick that I think everybody's overlooking a little bit. Is the batting average going to be sticky, right? Because I think he's going to be good in every other department. I don't think it's really anything to argue. The power's legit. The speed's legit. I think the counting stats are going to be a lot better for a lot of the, Las Vegas guys. And
really hard to roll off the tongue.
Yeah,
still.
it is. It did not feel good at all. So I think Lawrence Butler is going to be one of the guys that benefits in the counting stats area. I think he's going to hit third, fourth in that lineup and just be very, very good from that perspective. But the underlying stuff for batting average does look good. But is he going to be one of those guys that kind of sells out a little bit for the power? He's a big, strong guy that hey, can he sell out for 35 plus home runs with a 240-ish batting average and become more of like a Jazz Chisholm type where, it's going to be 30 plus home runs, 20 plus steals, almost like a 30-30 type of guy with a subpar batting average and the good counting stats, as to where, I think we're all picturing him basically taking what he did last year and just applying it to 162 games. I think we all get guilty of that at times. So when drafting him, I'm just not going to bank in a super great batting average, even though I have him ranked pretty high. I think I have him over ADP. I have Lawrence Butler as my 22nd outfielder. Where does he fall on ADP? 25th outfielder. So actually I'm a little bit above ADP on him. Yeah. Coming off the board as the 83rd pick overall. I think that's a safe spot. I do like him where he's going as an outfielder 3, better than a 2, even though I ranked him as a 2. I don't feel comfortable with him walking away as my 2, so I'm going to have to adjust that into my rankings. So I think he's a very, very good high-end outfielder number 3. I don't know if you wanted to jump back in and say anything else.
I don't know. 25 just seems safe. It's right on that
cusp. It does.
I
kind of love that. Like I said, I love that number. I'm going to adjust my rankings to follow suit. And I think that's actually perfect for him. High-end outfielder number 3. I think that's a perfect spot for him.
Yeah. This next guy's yours. Why don't you lead off with it?
Yeah, so let's jump back in. Let's talk some Jackson Holliday, right, of those Baltimore Orioles. And I actually am shocked at early ADP with Jackson Holliday. Like it's very shocking to me. Right now, early ADP has Jackson Holliday as the 17th second baseman, pick 185. Where did all the hype go? I feel like we're only a year removed from this kid having his debut, and it's like there's no push for a guy like him. Like, I could see it coming during if he has a huge spring training, but you would think even going in that there would just be the hype there for Jackson Holliday, and it's not. His first 60 games did not go great. Jackson Holliday is a 20-year-old last year in his first taste of the bigs. Since again 60 games, 190 at bats. He had 28 runs, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 5 homers, 23 RBIs, 4 steals, 15 walks, 69 strikeouts, and he hit 189. I know it wasn't a great showing, but for a kid who was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and we were all so beyond excited to have on our fantasy teams last year that we were drafting him, and even though he hadn't made the team out of spring training. He was impressive in the minors last year in AAA. Once again, as a 20-year-old in AAA, which is impressive in itself to even get that far. 73 games, 266 at-bats, 75 runs, 25 doubles, 10 homers, 38 RBIs, 8 steals, and he hit 271. But the year before that, in 2023, across 4 different levels, he hit 323 with 12 homers, 24 steals, and he did that in 125 games. This kid's going to tap into the potential, and whether it's going to be on my fantasy team, your fantasy team, all of our fantasy teams, is up to you guys. I know I'm going to have a lot of Jackson Holliday. I have him ranked as my – where did I wind up with him at second base? Number 9, actually, to be honest with you. I'm asking my number 9 second baseman. So I'm way above ADP on a guy like Jackson Holliday. And I think he is truly the definition of a must-draft player because I think he develops this year. He takes that step forward. It might not be the full done product version of Jackson Holliday that we see this year, but I definitely think we see a version where there's power, there's speed, the counting stats are going to be good on this team. And I think he shows us what he can really do in that batting average department this season. And he gets up 270 plus. And honestly, in my opinion, and he's just like a can't miss kind of guy. We just need to remember why we liked him in the first place. And that, we got to give him the pass as a 20-year-old in 2024.
I don't even know. I feel like the development was kind of shut on him. So like, I'm going to take this. I'm taking it last year as kind of like, not with a grain of salt, but with a lesson. We got to be a little bit more careful with these young guys. And anything can happen, right? So, like, a lot of people just relied on him and held him for half a year, and then when he finally came up, he was pretty disappointing. So, like, the fantasy Band-Aids are on still, and they're still licking their wounds. So that's why I think the price is where it's at. This is a perfect year to draft him. I have him as my 9th second baseman as well, but also the position doesn't have a lot of safety either. So, like, he is your better option. He's going much later in the draft. So, like, it is what it is. Like, if you have to,
I don't think it's going to stay that way either.
No. I'll probably get up to like $130 if I had to take a guess, which actually isn't still atrocious. That's still like, nearly 13th round. So I'm okay with that price. Jackson Holliday is just somebody that you got to like, kind of like, okay, look, I'm taking him. I got way more upside at other positions. And then I still got my second baseman. And if it pans out and the ceiling is super high, I'm chilling. If he lives up to the low floor, it is what it is. I made up the difference with my other players. So that's pretty much after you have to preface yourself when you're taking Jackson Holliday at the end of the day. Normally I'd love to start on this next guy, but I actually need a little bit more time because this is probably one of my favorite guys to draft this year. And everybody's going to think I'm crazy, but that's going to be Josh Jung. And quite honestly, I'm going to need more time. So it's going to be on the other side of this.
Real quick, folks, I need to talk to you about my friend over at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? That definitely has happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and I know we're all guilty of that. Rocket Money makes it so easy for you to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions. is up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is a subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel subscription services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Once again, that's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And for a third and final time, that is rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Matt, tell us about Josh Jung.
Yeah, buddy. So I love Josh Jung so much that I actually, had to wait so long. But Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers, I think, honestly just caught the raw end of the stick last year. Got hurt, wasn't able to really make it on the field. And then when he did, though, man, it was fun. Started off a little slow, but then as he got back in the groove of things, he really turned it on. 178 at bats, 19 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 7 bombs, 16 ribs, 4 stolen bases, which was impressive, and batted .264. Batting average still stayed on par with 2023. Power pace was above, and on top of that, we saw everything we wanted to see. It just unfortunately didn't translate because of the unfortunate injury. I feel like this year we're going to see a lot more if he can manage to stay healthy. It's not like the injury was, something that was in his control. Truthfully, it just had happened. But when he came back in September, October, and you played him, man, he really did come through. I'm pretty happy to draft him this year. Everything screams, hey, I'm going to be phenomenal for fantasy baseball. And he's going off the board at a great price. He's a guy that,
Nice.
What's up?
So agreeing with you about the price. Pick 200, 21st third baseman for Josh Jung is crazy.
Yeah, quite honestly, say for instance, you decided to load up, which I don't recommend doing. You can choose, you can choose to, go with him as your third baseman, which I would not. I'd do it as more of my UT. If you saw the mock draft episode from yesterday, which if you didn't, you should go and watch. Dom had him and CES, who's also on the show, as his 2 UTs, high ceiling play. Now, obviously, you'll see what my thought process on pairing the two was, but Josh Jung, I feel, is going to be a great flex play that can, really make a difference. You remember 2023 when you had him as your flex after picking him up off waivers after he got picked up? It was magical. It's going to be all the same stuff and more. So, Josh Jung, must add.
Yeah, Matt, like you said, I'm big on Josh Jung this year as well. I drafted him in the first mock draft that we did. I have Jung all the way up as my 11th third baseman. I do think he will be a startable third baseman, but he, as Matt said, he might not be the guy you want to walk out of your draft with. And if you do happen to wait at third base and you wait and you grab him as your starter, back him up right away. I would jump back in and grab me another third baseman, maybe a round or two later, just so you kind of have that insurance policy, just to make sure that, okay, I now have somebody that I could slide in there, whether Jung gets hurt again or, it's just performance-based issues, which I don't think are going to be there for Jung. I think he's going to come out and he's going to be 260, 270 hitter, a lot of pop, and he's going to drive in a lot of runs in that Rangers lineup. I think it's going to be a lot better. Matt, jump back in, brother.
Perfect pairing for Royce Lewis.
Yeah. So yeah. Royce Lewis. I'm sure we'll get into some Royce Lewis talk, because he's another such an intriguing, polarizing name. But yes, quite the opposite of Mr. Royce Lewis there for Josh Jung. But let's actually move on and let's talk about, Matt, you did a great job of setting this next guy up. Let's talk about CES, Christian Encarnacion-Strand. Once again, somebody that we talked about in the mock draft episode that we did yesterday, which was a great episode. Make sure you're checking out those mock draft episodes that are coming at you weekly from now on. With Strand, I think it's just basically the injury concern that has everybody a little bit up in arms. But Strand was playing in the Arizona Fall League. I'm going to grab you those numbers. I know he was doing pretty well. Did have a little bit of a setback when it came to injury as well, but he, got everything straightened out. And as far as I have seen and heard, he is fully healthy at the moment. But a kid like this is somebody that, needs to be at least drafted higher based on pure speculation. I do have those Arizona Fall League numbers. I do want to read them off real quick. So he played 8 games in the AFL not too long ago. 26 at bats. He had 2 runs, 2 doubles, no homers, 7 RBIs. He had 4 walks, 9 strikeouts, but he hit 385. So I'm not really worried about a guy like Strand, who is a potential 300 hitter with 30 plus home runs, hitting in a place like Cincinnati for half of his games, Great American Small Park. I think this is just almost a can't miss kind of guy. So as long as he's healthy and ready to go, the price is outrageously good. As the 25th first baseman, pick 226 right now. Yeah, and that needs to be jumped up to at least 150 easily. I currently have Strand ranked as my 8th first baseman off the board, so I am way higher than ADP on this one. As long as he's healthy, that's the only caveat here. As long as he's healthy going into opening day and he's going to be in that lineup, he is an absolute must draft for me because the home run power and the batting average prowess is real.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason he even went down and didn't come back was because the fracture decided that they needed surgery. And it's kind of good because we probably would have had some bad scent left on him like Jackson Holliday, because usually when you get hit in the break your hand, you lose the power like Freddie Freeman a couple years ago and others. So
Matt Olson.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it is what it is. This year everybody's going to sleep on him. We're going to be on top of him and we're going to draft him all day long. And you're going to win your leagues. But anyway, let's move on. So about Jordan Westburg. Somebody also kind of ripped Dom apart for not drafting yesterday. And so go back and check that episode. But Jordan Westburg is a phenomenal talent. Another guy who broke his hand, and got his season shut down, but was putting on a super, sophomore year. Let's put it this way: 416 at bats, 57 runs, 26 doubles, 5 triples, 18 bombs, 63 ribs, 6 stolen bases, batted .264. Look, the kid is really good, and there's more power under that hood than you could imagine. I think that he has the 30 home run upside with at least a chip in of stolen bases of like 10 to 12. I think the batting average is right where it needs to be and right where it's going to be. I think the kid has all the making, plus that team is just looking mighty fine. All the stuff under the hood looks fantastic too. X-WOBA is sitting at 353, X batting average at 281. That X slug is looking awesome at 491, and then that average exit velocity sitting at 91.1 miles an hour, barreling 11.8% of the time, creating hard contact 46% of the time, and that launch angle is beautiful. He has a beautiful swing in total. Jordan Westburg is going to be a force. Do not sleep on him. Second and third base eligibility. Those Baltimore Orioles are fantastic, and is going to be able to provide the peripheral counting stats. He's going to be a force. Do not sleep on him this season. I guarantee probably the best drafted player that's going to have way higher ROP than anything else.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you. I love me some Westburg as well. You did a good job at breaking down the underlying stats. And what I'm going to mention, too, is he's actually really fast. He's in the 91st percentile of sprint speed, gets around those bases really quick. It's about will. If he wants to steal those bases and Baltimore's going to let him, I could see him jump up to 20 plus. He's I like the value after pick 100 right now. He's another guy that I think is just going to be like a fantasy baseball community sweetheart that we're going to drive him up. He's going to be over pick 100, I believe, before fantasy baseball draft season's officially here. I'll still pay it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's still a good price for who is a kid who's one of the best young and upcoming second baseman in the game. Once again, Jordan Westburg is who we're talking about here. So the price is sweet right now. I have Westburg. Man, I don't know if you said where you have him at second, because I think that's where most of us are going to draft him. I have Westburg at 6. Actually, probably going to move him up after this conversation to probably 5th at second base. And just for frame of reference, I have him 10th at third, because third is a little bit deeper, but I love Westburg, man. I think he's going to have a big breakout season this year.
4th at second and 8th at third.
Yeah, love that. And I honestly think that's probably closer to where he's going to end up in my rankings when everything's said and done, just because the upside's tremendous. You love the team, and you just got to trust the talent. Baltimore knows what they're doing when it comes to these young players. But let's move into this next guy. I did have Matt and I practiced what we preach, because I had a lot of these guys on the mock draft team that we spoke about the other day. But let's talk about Wyatt Langford again. The real big thing with Langford is that we saw the breakout start to happen at the end of the season over the last like his 30 games. I believe it was 8 home runs, 7 steals, and he hit 300 over that time. Kind of showed us everything that we were looking for at the end of the season there. And the year-long numbers for Langford weren't atrocious. It was 499 at-bats, 74 runs, 16 homers, 19 steals, and a 253 batting average. So, when you put everything together, it didn't look super sexy. But when you kind of start to pinpoint, hey, Langford finished the year strong. He on the season total, he was in the 98th percentile of sprint speed. Langford's a guy who could make a huge jump this year and be honestly could be a 30-30 guy, hit 275 plus. The underlying stuff for batting average was a little bit better than where he was, but Langford still, there's a reason he was one of the best young prospects in the game, age 23. I think he's just another guy that's going to flourish and break out, have a monster year.
Well said. I'm still a little hurting from what he didn't do last year. Gives me the hesitations, but at the same time, you got to let it slide. But if the price is right, I'm drafting him. Let's put it that way. But I'm going to move on to this last guy since we're short on time. Vinnie Pasquantino. It's just an honorable mention at this point. Thumb injury kind of shut his breakout down. Was almost made it back to play in the playoffs. Vinnie Pasquantino is going to be fantastic. Going to be a sneaky first baseman in the draft in 2025. Overall, is going to be phenomenal. If you have any other questions, ask about it. DM us. We'll hit you up and we'll tell you all about them. But guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share it. And you're not good at fantasy baseball unless you're sharing knowledge and beating them with the same knowledge. So next time you watch the show, bring back a friend. I promise you'll still kick their butts because you're just better than them, but you won't know until you try. And when you're done checking us out and you want a little bit more more baseball entirely, check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.